In this installment of Zen and the Art of Joomla video series, we'll take a basic tour of the administration area of a localhost install with demo content. As mentioned in the previous video in this series, this is the same basic installation you'll be able to view at demo.joomla.org/1.5 without, of course, the whole world making changes. In particular, we'll view some of the main features of the Joomla administration control panel, look at the global configuration settings, talk about the language manager, and browse the system info area. If we open our browser to our localhost homepage, we can either click the administration link in the resources menu on the left or in the URL add/administrator. Either will take us to the login page of the administration area. Just type in the username and password and you'll see the control panel. From this panel, you can access all of the major applications for customizing your site. The administration area has its own look and feel, with these modules on the right presented in an expandable view, a menu of all the features along the top, and in the middle, the most often used features presented as these large buttons. The modules on the right include a welcome message, logged in users, most popular articles, recently added articles, menu statistics, and the all-important security newsfeed featuring recent updates and vulnerability fixes. The buttons in the center get you the same features as those in the drop-down menu at the top, just more quickly. The Site menu has links to the Control Panel, which we're viewing, the User Manager, the Media Manager, Global Configuration, and a Logout item. The Menus drop-down has links to the Menu Manager, the Menu Trash, and a list of existing menus that you might have already created. The Content menu has links to the Article Manager, the Article Trash, the Section Manager, the Category Manager, and the Front Page Manager. The Components menu has links to the Banner Manager, the Contacts Manager, the Newsfeed Manager, the Polls Manager, the Search Manager, and the Web Links Manager. The Extensions menu has links for the Installation Manager, the Module Manager, the Plugins Manager, the Template Manager, and the Language Manager. The Tools menu features links for messaging, global check-in, cleaning the cache, and purging the cache. Lastly, the Help menu has links for the Joomla documentation and the system info area. In the upper left, there are also links to preview the front page as well as log out. Now that we've explored the control panel a little, let's look at the global configuration in more detail. Global configuration, as the name implies, allows the administrator to change settings that affect the functionality of the entire site. This can be accessed from the button or from the Site drop-down menu. Global configuration is grouped into three areas: Site, System, and Server, with common buttons for Save, Apply, Close, and Help in the upper right. The Site tab in Global Configuration has a site group with settings for the offline status of your site, including a message to visitors in case you're working on the site, the site name, the default WYSIWYG editor, and defaults for list length, feed length, and the email for feeds. The Metadata group has a global description and keyword list for search engines and settings for the title and author meta tags in HTML. The SEO group has settings for using search engine-friendly URLs, including whether to use suffixes like HTML and whether to use Apache mod rewrite rules in htaccess files. Accessing the System tab, you'll see settings in the System group for the log file path, whether to enable web services, and which help system to use. In the User group are settings for allowing user registration, default access level, user account activation, and whether to show user parameters on the front end of the site. In the Media group are settings such as the path for your image folder and the media folder, whether to restrict uploads to certain user groups, legal types for media and images, and whether to enable the Flash uploader. The Debug group allows display of debugging information in the debug position for testing purposes. The Cache and Sessions group control lifetime and handlers for each. Accessing the Server tab, we see settings in the Server group for the temp folder, page compression, error reporting, and forcing SSL connections. The locale group sets the time zone for your server. The FTP group has settings for file transfers. The database group has your MySQL information. The mail group has settings for the default mailer, to and from settings, path to send mail, and SMTP settings. An often overlooked resource for global settings is available in the Help menu. Clicking System Info presents another set of tabs with valuable information. The System Info tab has all the version numbers and products for your database, PHP, web server, and Joomla, including the web server to PHP interface, which can affect how you can change any of these settings. The PHP Settings tab has common PHP settings critical for Joomla. The Configuration File tab has all the global settings in the Joomla configuration.php file. The Directory Permissions tab has a listing of the writable status of critical directories such as temp, cache, and log folders. The last tab, PHP Info, is a complete listing of the PHP core settings and all the settings for any PHP extensions available on your server. This extension setting list will differ depending on your host and can be quite long, but it's a great resource. This is one of the great ways to check the prerequisites of any Joomla extensions you might be installing. This is especially true in shared hosting environments, since some hosts don't install certain PHP extensions by default. Returning to the control panel for Joomla, let's visit another area that has global implications, the Language Manager. This application allows you to configure which language to use as a default for both the administration area and the front end. Once you've installed the language extension through the Install Manager, you can pick and choose which is the default language for each of these areas. It doesn't translate your content, you're still responsible for that, but it does provide common Joomla system messages and strings for different locales. I didn't go into great detail in this video on the administration area, since I'll be doing that in future videos, but this brief tour gives you an idea of the global settings available in Joomla and how they are used. In the next video in the series, we'll take a brief tour of the User Manager.